Good evening. Now your STV News, including the headlines for air. Motorists are beginning 2018 by paying the highest price for petrol in 3 years. Analysis by RAC Fuel Watch found that a tank of unleaded is nearly £4 more expensive than last July. And prices at the pumps are more likely to continue to go up rather than down. Debenhams has announced a poor performance over the festive period. The chain, which has 15 branches in Scotland, saw shares slump after sales dropped by 2.5% on last year. The department store had cut prices to try boost profits in the run-up to Christmas. Camperdown Wildlife Centre in Dundee has reopened following the death of one of its monkeys. It was closed to the public for 3 days to allow members of the lion-tailed macaque troop to mourn the loss of one of their juveniles. The highly social animals, which are critically endangered, arrived in the city last year from a zoo in Belfast. The remaining 10 had spent the last few days tending to the dead infant.
They'll preen them, they'll carry them around, they'll look after them. It helps the group to come to terms with their loss, and they do act as a whole, as a one group, and they do all take part in the caring process. So we had a choice whether to leave the Wildlife Centre open and let everyone see what goes on, or to give our macaques some peace and quiet to do what comes naturally to them, and we chose to do that.
Iron Brew fans are stockpiling the drink before a new recipe comes into force at the end of the month. The makers of the fizzy favourite have claimed most people will not taste the difference when Scotland's so-called other national drink will be produced with less than 50% of its regular sugar content. Fans have launched a campaign against the move. Andy Murray has withdrawn from the Australian Open because of an ongoing hip problem. The 30-year-old had already pulled out of the Brisbane International event, but has now announced he will not take part in the first Grand Slam of 2018. Murray says he's flying home to assess his options. And the main stories in air. A 39-year-old woman has died following a crash in South Ayrshire. She was driving her Ford Fiesta on A759 between Troon and Dundonald, near to its junction with Hawkins at around 5:30 on Thursday morning, when it appears she lost control of the vehicle and struck a tree. Emergency services attended, but the woman was pronounced dead at the scene. And a former Scottish kickboxing champion says he's overwhelmed by the interest in free martial arts classes he's established in an effort to tackle bullying in Ayrshire. Richie Harkin holds training sessions several times a week in Irvine. He hopes to bring positivity to the image of young people in the area. Well, that's all we have time for just now. Remember to join us for the STV News at 6 in your area. But first, here's a look at the latest weather forecast. Have a very good evening. Bye-bye.
TUI sponsors STV Weather. TUI sponsors STV Weather.